What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Shiny McForehead 5000, and today we're going to be discussing the patch notes which dropped yesterday. Well, not so much patch notes really, but really a discussion about the future of Fortress and what people can fly think they're going to do with it. And I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there, and I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air.
Nice.
So first things first, let's do something about this shiny forehead. And then secondly, a disclaimer of sorts. This will probably feature some colorful language. Here at therealfullmeasure, we drop F-bombs like it's going out of town. So if that's the sort of thing that upsets you, I apologize in advance, but it is what it is. So let's get the patch notes up here. I thought we could just sort of go through them together like this. There's quite a bit to go through. I'm not going to read all of it, but there are certain key pieces which I can sort of pick out and we can just sort of discuss around it. But if we go here, basically they're just saying that they're continuing on with the discussion that was started last week on Moaning Winds. This refers to what they call the 3 core pillars of the current weapons mod meta.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
And the shape of the current meta is generally, as they say, has led to a stagnation of build diversity and over-reliance on a very small amount of specific mods, as well as an under-reliance on the vast majority of other mods. Again, you're never going to have a situation where all of your mods are going to be preferred by players to use. You got to have some bad ones for there to be good ones. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that there are certain mods which are just clearly better than others. That is in essence a meta, but something that they mention here, which is very interesting to me, is the very next block here, saying that as mentioned previously, this meta is partially driven by a DPS timer oriented game in-game. I disagree completely. This meta is driven by a DPS oriented game, and I will illustrate this further on when we get further on, because it's a very interesting thing that they put this in there, but then how they've decided what they think Fortress should work like. So the point here is that the minute you take the timer out of the equation, because let's discuss a run of Boomtown. The idea is that you are trying to complete a run of Boomtown to get to the box at the end and get the loot. To get to the box at the end and get the best version of the loot that comes out of that box, you have a timer that you have to beat. That's it. If you take the time out of the equation and you let people walk through that expedition on their own time, mopping and cleaning up things as they want to and trying out, different combinations, trying to sort of funnel mobs together and maybe to use like a big AoE on them or anything like that, that'll just open up build diversity like you wouldn't fucking believe, which is something that I suggested in the previous video that I discussed on Moaning Winds. It's because people have to go as fast as possible. They create builds that are as efficient as possible. A lot of the builds which I've created on this channel don't use Fortress or give alternatives to using Fortress, not only because people are tired of using the mod, but also some people still don't have it. The point is that if you want to get to that end loot the fastest way possible, because that's kind of like the objective for most people that play this game, then you're going to use the best tools that are available to you, and that's why people use Fortress. It's as simple as that. So then if we continue on here, however, if Fortress and Moaning Winds remain untouched in their current form, let me just highlight what I'm talking about. No amount of changes to endgame format, everything like that matters. As a reminder, the way Fortress currently works. Okay, so basically the point is just that Fortress is just like a super straightforward mod. It's 43% additional damage, and it's just applied on everything. So you don't have to do anything to earn that, except for stacking up enough armor to actually qualify for the full version of the build, which is super easy by just actually equipping 5 pieces of level 50 armor. You basically get it. And you don't have to do anything to earn it. That's just a 43% increase overall. Now, this is a pretty big deal, and I will come back to this point eventually, but it's a pretty big deal for anomaly builds, but not so much a big deal for bullet-based builds or firepower builds, where you have better options available. And we'll discuss some of those. But anyway, so let's dissect this. There's a huge part here where it basically, what they're saying is that the idea was that they always envisioned Fortress to be this mod that is there for characters that stack armor, and so by stacking armor, they're actually avoiding picking up DPS nodes, and so they're doing less damage. So this mod is supposed to help fill that gap for them. Now, of course, that failed miserably, because the point is that this actually, this empowers anomaly builds to, underperforming anomaly builds to actually push out massive damage. And so I can understand how this seems as some kind of a crutch, especially to anomaly builds where it's kind of like an auto include, because why would you just not want 43% additional damage? But they do also mention something here that's saying that this is key. No matter how much we buff any other mod within the realms of reasonable balance, they will never be able to provide the same overall value that Fortress does, making those buffs inherently unable to displace Fortress. Again, I don't understand why it is so important to displace Fortress. People Can Fly seem to be obsessed with this idea of you going into a expedition, and as you enter into the expedition, the mobs are very far away from you, so you pull out your sniper and you take 2 shots with the sniper and you down like 1 guy, and then when the enemies are close to right on top of you, you switch to your shotgun and you like take down another 3 fucking dudes with your shotgun, and then as your shotgun bullets run out, you switch to your pistols and you just kind of strafe backwards and killing out a bunch of stuff with your pistols. And all the time while you're doing this, you have 6 different mods on those 3 weapons, and they're all interacting so amazingly and everything like that. The game isn't built to be played that way, because that way of playing is ridiculously inefficient to again beat this always standing timer in the background. The most efficient way for you to play is to stack the 2 best mods on the weapon of choice that you want to use, and then just go in balls deep and just keep fucking shooting and dropping your abilities and everything like that. There is no build I've seen in this game that allows or that wants you to basically be using 3 different weapons as you're flowing in and out of combat in this ebb and flow kind of combat way that they're describing. I haven't seen anybody play that way. Oh no, wait, I have people that use Moaning Winds. So, I mean, then, like, what they're saying here is finally Fortress's current form, it makes it fundamentally unfun. I don't know, in my mind, I have a whole contingent of, pyromancers who will probably disagree with you. I think one of the most fun things in the game is being able to pull off, like, a massive Ash Blast overheat combo. And dropping like a whole bunch of mobs in front of you, like clearing out that room in the bottom of Boomtown is fucking hella satisfying, and I think every pyro that plays it that way will agree with me. So again, here this is the part, and I think I'll come back to this later, but if I don't, let me just say my piece on it now. And that is that what this seems to me is that People Can Fly's idea of fun in this game is not the same idea that players have, or at the very least what the majority of players have. This scenario that I was explaining now about the flow with the weapons and everything like that, that's how I think they think the game should be played, right? And so they're making changes to mods to force players into the way that they think the game should be played, but that's not how this works. What's missing here, and I don't know if this is that conversation, but what is missing here is a conversation with the people that you have left in the game, and to discuss. And I mean, Jesus, we haven't even gotten to looking at what their suggestion is about how the mod is going to work, but we're getting there. The point is that this tastes for me much more of a studio saying, guys, you're playing the game wrong. So what we're going to do, because you're not listening to us and you're not stopping using the mods in the ways that you're using them, is we're going to change those mods and we're going to force you to play the way that we think that you should be playing the game, which is just fucking stupid. So this part here is also, I mean, what do we have planned for the future of Fortress? Something that they do mention here is that they're not going to change anything to Fortress or Moaning Winds until they've resolved the challenges that drove to the creation of this meta as it is right now, because I think they're obviously, or I think the concern here is if you change those 2 mods, then you kind of just create this power vacuum and other stuff just floats to the top, or like I suggested in one of my other videos, it just means that anomaly builds die out almost completely and everybody just gravitates to bullet builds, and then we're kind of like basically in that first week of Outriders where they nerfed bullet builds. So I understand that they're saying that this is still far in the future, and knowing this studio that takes 5 weeks to release a bug patch, far in the future is far in the future. But again, like I said, I hope that this is the actual conversation and this is the barometer that they use to test how the community actually finds us, because I didn't go counting, but where this is posted on Reddit, scrolling through the comments, this is, in my opinion, and I could be reading it wrong, but this has received overall like a very negative response. And again, this is just Reddit, but again, you have to, I don't know how you would gauge it on other platforms or other social media or anything like that. I haven't even checked the Twitter yet. That would be interesting to just check the comments on Twitter. But I think overall this is probably just seen as a very, you know, bad change, or a very bad implementation of a change, where instead of taking a mod and, you know, maybe making it, because it's so unfun and boring, maybe fleshing it out a bit more, you are essentially ruining it, or the way that it is being used. And that is perhaps the time for us to segue directly into what their suggestion is of what this should be doing. So as it says right now, and I have to admit, short little story here, and the reason why this video is late is because I read this yesterday as I was on my way out of the house. And the way that I understood it, I read it and I was like, maybe this is fucking interesting, like, you know. And then I got a couple of drinks in me, and then I read it again and I was, holy shit, no, this is fucking terrible. And I wanted to come home and actually record the video then, but, you know, calmer minds prevailed, and I thought, let me sleep on it and let me come back to this thing in the morning, which I then did. And yeah, I'm still pretty pissed about it. But basically what this says is that shots increase your current armor and resistance by 3%. Stacking up to 5 times, so this goes up to 15%. So, you know, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. At maximum stacks, the buff is doubled, so it goes to 30, and additionally grants 30% damage increase for 10 seconds. So in the time that you're trying to ramp up to, okay, there's a lot here, so let's unpack it bit by bit. In the time that you're trying to ramp up to get your 5 stack so that you get the 30% damage buff, you're getting no additional damage at all. You're only getting armor and you're only getting resistance. Now, this already for me is a weird thing, because what already would have been better is if the mod, as it gave 3% armor and 3% resistance, also gave 3% damage. That would have kind of made a bit more sense to me, because overall Fortress is not a defensive mod, but rather a offensive mod for a heavy defense build. This makes it a defensive mod overall, and if you can play around the mod and make sure that you always keep this up, then it offers you some offense. Now, it offers a lot less than originally what it gave. Originally it gave 43%. Now, when it actually procs, it only offers 30%. And more importantly, that 30% is only for 10 seconds. There's a lot here that's also not explained here, but just below on the side notes, players will need to perform 5 successful shots over 5 seconds to enter the full buff window. Stacks have a 1-second internal cooldown in order to streamline uptimes across all weapon types. They did this because otherwise, if you use something like a burst fire auto, then those 3 bullets would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then you have your 5 stacks, which would have been obviously fucking broken as hell in their minds, because you would have been able to get your 5 stack literally up in like a second and a half. So this internal cooldown means that you would still have to pull off essentially 5 bursts with an auto rifle, or 5 shots with a shotgun, or 5 shots with a single shot rifle. And inherently here becomes the problem. See, what they've done is they've taken a mod that in this gameplay loop that you're trying to get to your 5 stacks, you have to concentrate so much on having enough bullets in your gun, not hitting fucking grass or shit or bodies of enemies that are falling in front of it, competing against other players that are standing next to you that are hitting these mobs, the same mobs, with spells and everything like that. Or more importantly, a technomancer, bullet blighted rounds technomancer standing next to you that is dropping every single mob essentially in a burst. So you have no time to cycle up to your damage potential as, for instance, a pyromancer. I guess at this point in time, I want to ask, and this is something that I alluded to in my previous video, I want to ask, who is this change for? Which one of the 4 types of players, as I mentioned it in there? Because what I said is, is it for the first group of players that are whales that have been playing this game, that have thousands of hours in this game, that have, classes with all characters and all different builds, everything like that? No, this isn't for them. They've made their pyromancers or their classes that use this, Devastator, that use Fortress, they've optimized them to the best way possible. And in many ways, you've broken the way a pyromancer, an Ash Blast overheat pyromancer plays now, because you've you've brought this additional gameplay loop in where that class, which doesn't gunfight, now needs to be sure to land 5 shots and then qualify for a 10-second window that they have to pull their combo off. And their combo is, you know, 2 heat waves, an ash blast that branches out, and then an overheat. That's the combo. So you have an extremely limited small window to basically ramp up and push that out. And it's also not explained how the drop off of this damage will be. It's probably going to be instant, like something like Dark Sacrifice or Killing Spree, because it's starting to seem like one of those mods now. And so therefore, if you pull off half your combo and at like, you know, 10 seconds, you're only just about to hit your overheat, oops, sorry, no additional 30% damage for you. So yeah, it's problematic. It's not exactly explained how these little intricacies about the mod will work. But overall, this is just for me, like, again, I kind of went off on a tangent now. So this is not for the regular, the whales playing the game, everything like that, because you probably just broke a whole bunch of those builds. This is definitely not for the speedrunners. 100%, this isn't. I mean, the whole game around speedrunning is obviously moaning wins, yeah, sure, but also the thing is, like, if you're playing pyromancer and you're speedrunning, you're not really shooting, ever. And introducing that in is just going to make it more convoluted and difficult to get the uptime on that buff to actually get the damage that most likely speedrunners will just look elsewhere. They're just not going to bother with it. And then thirdly, new players are not going to know about this, and they're going to come up playing yeah, they'll just probably look at it and go, Jesus, I have to work my fucking ass off to get this 30%. Let me rather just take something else that just gives me a flat damage increase. Killing Spree. What do I have to do to get the buff from Killing Spree? Oh, I just have to kill 3 things. Oh, okay, fucking sweet. What do I have to do to get the buff from Dark Sacrifice? Oh no, nothing. I just get the 75%, and I just have to make sure that I don't die from you know, the damage from the drain effect. Yes, this is weapon damage, but that's my point. What this does is it's gonna funnel people into playing bullet bills 100%. So let me finish off with 3 questions, and I know this is dragging on now, and that's what I wanted to avoid, but 3 questions that people will most likely have after reading this. Is this a nerf? Yes. It's a nerf in 2 ways. One, it's less damage overall, so it used to be 43%, it's 30% now. And the other way that it's a nerf is it specifically targets anomaly builds. When you are playing bullet builds, it's viable to use Fortress, but there are better options out there for you. So this is focused at making anomaly builds, you know, not as good as they were before. And again, like I said, it seems to be focused into the way that people can fly think that you should play the game, and that is that you should be firing your guns and switching your weapons and this whole interactive gunplay scenario that they have in their head, which just nobody fucking plays like that, unless you're doing Moaning Wind swap. Secondly, who is affected the most? I think I addressed that already, but definitely anomaly builds. And then lastly, is this something that we need to worry about right now? No, they've mentioned here that there's a lot of other things which still need to be changed and everything like that. But I really do hope that this is them actually starting a dialogue, actually starting a conversation, and being interested in what the feedback is, and then allowing for some change here, or not implementing it at fucking all, or maybe looking at different ways of doing this. Like, you know, remove Fortress from the mod fucking group, you know, completely. Put it into the skill trees so that people can skill into it and basically qualify for it through that way. But keep it in its original form. For example, I don't know, like I just feel like there's a lot more, you know, ways that this can be addressed. Make it an armor mod. Make it an armor mod, because since it's now a defensive mod, that gives you a little bit of extra DPS. You know, put it on armor. Put it on armor, and then that way you free up. You accomplish your goal by freeing up the weapon slots that you think are so important to be freed up, but you also still keep it in its current form, and people don't have to sacrifice a weapon slot. I don't know, maybe that's a suggestion. But overall, I just, like I said, this seems like it's a change for people can fly, and it's not a change for us. And yeah, I think it's silly. I think it's a weird thing to be focusing so much attention on and write 2 fucking community blogs, 2 separate Thursdays, explaining this whole like design of combat and fucking tenets of survival and what all this fucking shit that they throw out, while there are still bugs in the game, while Stadia players still suffer for this, and while a player base is fucking dwindling weekly. And there's just this seeming focus on how we're playing the game wrong. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, especially for, you know, staying this long. If you did, I know that I went on a bit of a rant there, but it is a game that I'm passionate about, so I can't fucking help myself. But let me know in the comments down below your feelings on it, what you think this is going to lead to, if you're happy about it. You know, maybe there's some perspective that's needed here. Maybe in 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, or 2 to 3 to 4 months, when all of this comes around and we see the other plans that they supposedly have for the gear sets and the other mods and everything, maybe this starts making a lot more sense. I'm actually willing to give PCF a chance to change my mind here. But as it stands right now, and what we have over here, it doesn't look good. Anyway, thanks again. It's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, a great afternoon, and an awesome evening wherever you are in the world. And until next video, fucking cheers.
They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me.